The Clarity Act entered the Senate queue on June 1st as the vote for the Market Structure Act gets closer. Ripple's stablecoin, the RLUSD, has advanced into the Turkish markets, and despite many bullish signals regarding XRP, the price just keeps falling. Let's talk about it.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Yes, actually, on June 1st, the Clarity Act entered the Senate queue, and that is a calendar step as it's described. It says the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act has moved to the United States Senate legislative calendar, giving the crypto market structure bill a formal path toward possible floor action. The Senate records show that the administrative calendar step was completed by June 1st after the Senate Banking Committee advanced the bill on May 14th in a 15-9 bipartisan vote. The calendar entry does not set a floor vote date, but it makes the bill eligible for full Senate consideration once leadership schedules debates. The bill, known as the Clarity Act, now sits at one of the most important stages since lawmakers began working on a national rule book for digital assets. Senate leaders must still decide when to bring the measure to the floor, where debate, amendments, and a final vote would determine whether it can continue toward enactment. Yes, they're still dragging their butts on the Clarity Act because they have to make sure that things are where they want them to be. And quite frankly, one of the places they want them to be is a new monetary system established and set up. And the regular folks, the consumers, the eaters, us, regular folks, are not going to benefit too greatly from the change in the status of cryptocurrencies and digital assets going forward. Yes, I've said it and I'll say it again. Many will just become counterfeit money or useless or collector's items. That is bound to happen to the more than who knows how many cryptocurrencies there are now. I don't have a clue. But what I do know is that Ripple's RLUSD has now expanded into the Turkish markets on 3 of their local platforms. Now, if you recall, which I immediately thought about when I saw this story, Turkey had a period of time when their currency went flat back around the COVID area and leading up to the COVID area. In fact, the Turkish lira lost over 200% of its value against the US dollar since 2018, a decline severely accelerated during the COVID-19 pandemic by unconventional monetary policies and external shocks. And if you like the content I'm providing, please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, and then come back for more DK Will Talk About It. And I believe, my dear listeners, that these types of activities are what prompts people to do just that, to be more open and accepting to the digital asset, the cryptocurrency, the stable coins, the monetary system change that is coming. And Turkey's not alone. Many countries like Iraq, for those of you who are into the dinar, and countries like Venezuela, countries like the Iranian rial, and of course, the failing US dollar as well. Now, comparative to other currencies, the dollar might be doing okay, but comparative to itself, we are getting about a nickel, maybe less than a nickel now, out of what used to be able to get for a dollar. They just don't put extra zeros on our money. Back to the Clarity Act, though. The remaining stages include a full Senate debate, possible amendments, and a floor vote requiring 60 votes. If the Senate version differs from the House version passed in July 2025, lawmakers would also need to settle differences between the two chambers before sending the final text to the president. Senator Cynthia Lummis said that the United States is closer than ever to a working digital asset market structure. She urged lawmakers to keep moving as the bill enters a difficult phase in the Senate. Then, of course, aside from just the bipartisan dilemma, we have the banks who continue to give pressure over stablecoin rewards. The calendar move comes after a sharp criticism from JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon. As previously covered by the Crypto News, Diamond said banks would oppose the Clarity Act unless lawmakers change provisions that he said give crypto firms bank-like powers without bank-level safeguards. They're not worried about safeguards. They're worried about their control of the money. Diamond made the comments on Friday during an interview about pending legislation on crypto market structure. One has to ask, why do the banks have so much power? If the banks have so much power, why don't the people have equal power, since the banks are holding the people's money? The people's, the businesses, and the entities. They're making tons of money. If you look at their profits, you'll see their profits number in the trillions. That's right. I said trillions. I did not say billions. And those profits are off of the fact that they are holding our money. So why would they be concerned about rewards? Take advantage of the rewards themselves. The cryptocurrency market is an open market and the banks can use it just as much as we can. But according to Diamond, the bill does not go far enough on legal protections, anti money laundering rules, and Bank Secrecy Act requirements. He said banks would not accept the legislation as written because some crypto products resemble deposits. So what? If that's where people want to put their value, let them put it there. But as you can see, the banks exercise a lot of control because they're opposing the Clarity Act should not matter if the overwhelming majority do not oppose the Clarity Act. But nevertheless, it goes on. But the banks are not alone. The institutions are trading around the bill's outcome. Galaxy Digital has drawn attention to the bill through a $10 million institutional prediction market trade tied to whether the Clarity Act passes. They're betting on it like they're betting on horses, but that's not all. I'll get to that in a minute. The trade was executed through Galaxy's institutional over-the-counter prediction market offering with Arca using the platform to gain exposure to the bill's approval odds. Coinbase, meanwhile, described the Clarity Act as very close to completion. Senator Lummis has said the bill would address the long-running jurisdictional dispute between the SEC and the CFTC over digital asset oversight. The institutions are trading around the bill's outcome. And that's the reason why bullish XRP signals are not resulting in an elevated price. XRP lost another major support level on heavy selling, with traders now focused on whether buyers can defend the $1.20 area after a 15-week low. Who are these traders? Because if these traders were retail, they would say retail. But they don't say retail because it's not retail. It says they're focused on whether buyers can defend the $1.20 area after a 15-week low. Now, let me read between the lines on that and then call this video complete. It says that they keep finding bullish narratives underneath the surface, but the price keeps ignoring them. Here's the important point. Exchange balances are shrinking, yet ETF money is still coming into crypto. That is dog whisper to anybody who can read between the lines. Exchange traded funds require the fact that those who offer them, especially spot ETFs, they must have the asset on hand. So when you see exchange balances of XRP disappearing, that means that they are heading in one direction and one direction only. If you recall, I did a prior video about the fact that XRP ETF buys are up, beating Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that explains why the XRP price is depressed. More than 25 million XRP left exchanges in recent days, reducing the amount of readily available supply for sale. Where do you think 25 million XRP went? Well, they told us where they went at the beginning of the article when they said ETF inflows into crypto remain strong. They said ETF money is still coming into crypto. Remember, when you buy an ETF, an exchange traded fund, you're not buying the asset that's held in reserve for that fund. The entity selling you the ETF is the one who holds the asset. So ETF money is the money that is buying and taking off the exchanges to put in reserves all the XRP, reducing the supply. Eventually, that reduced supply is going to have an impact on the market price. Before that happens, they're going to have to generate a reason. They're going to have to generate a narrative or an occurrence that significantly increases the demand for XRP. And all the exchange traded fund providers will have it in their coffer waiting for exorbitant returns. And that's about the only time that the net asset values of exchange traded funds that have been offered now for parts of a year and a half at least will start to see significant appreciation in value. But along with that significant appreciation in value, there will be a significant increase in the price of one XRP. The market is now caught between weakening supply on exchanges and deteriorating price action. Until one of these signals wins out, traders are likely to remain cautious. They're not remaining cautious. They're buying the dip. And that's probably what we should do too. I'm DKWILL. This is DKWILL Talk About It. I'll see you next week, and I'll talk about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.